Can we say that knowing how to decode the code is to know how to talk directly to the cell? Yes, that's really what it is, and that's what I'm interested in. In other words, the cell talks to us. The cell of his inner ear talks about his need to respect others, his need to not hurt this person. He feels guilty. The woman with breast cancer talks about her need to nurture her child, to be in contact with her child through the milk ducts and through the protocols and the therapeutic guidance. The cell talks to me and I talk to it. There's a dialogue. So once again, it's not at the mental level. It's not where things happen, it's in the cell. Going back to the first question, what can explain failures is first of all because we stay in the mind, then because we have not listened to the cells, and lastly because there are locking conflicts. There are restrictions to feeling, there is danger to heal, there are inversions like the other is more important than me, for example. It's obvious I'm more important than the other without being egotistic or narcissistic. Simply because when I eat, it's for myself. My body is more important than yours. That's why I breathe. It's to give myself oxygen. It's not a comparison or a scale of values. It's biological. Then it can become narcissistic or neurotic, like in narcissistic perversions. But at the biological level, it's healthy. Our self is more important than the other for our own survival. Only then we can, and it's right, and it feels nice to open up our heart to others within a relationship or in community. Some people have this inversion and will die from it. I'm thinking about a woman who had bone cancer and who would sacrifice herself for her children. She had 3 daughters and nothing was more important than her 3 daughters. At night, she would sleep very little to do all the things that had to be done for the house, to prepare them meals and sew them clothes. She would sleep very little, her husband being dead for a long time. She would neglect herself over and over and would constantly devalue herself. And her daughters, at the time teenagers, were mean and difficult. And this woman kept telling herself, I'm a bad mother, I'm a bad mother. And for her, the other was always more important, and she died. So it's an inversion. I'm biologically important to myself. I need to sleep. It's very simple. It's not psychological or philosophical or metaphysical. I just need to sleep. So we have inversions which prevent some people to heal, to evolve, to find their conflicts. This is what explains why some people don't heal and yet they receive the same treatments in biodecoding or other therapies. For example, some people have secondary benefits from the disease. So they go and see therapists, but they are identified to the disease. It means that if they are not sick anymore, they are nothing. I know someone who is diabetic for 40 years, and this is his status. Who are you? I'm diabetic. You see? It's his status. If you take that away from him, he becomes nothing. He complains all the time, but at least he's interesting. At least he experiences this as being of interest to others like physicians, nurses, friends, family. They ask him, what about your diabetes? Tell me. Oh, now it's my eyes. And they reply, oh no, poor thing. So this identification brings him to consult therapists to evolve as much as he can, but nothing changes. Can we say that the disease gets them the attention that they cannot have in life, that they use the disease to that purpose? Yes, your reformulation is interesting. Once we detect that, once it is noticed and recognized, then we can search for the advantage of this, and then keep the advantage and let go of the disease. We keep the importance of being seen, recognized, and valued, which is legitimate, using a different means than that of the disease. Also, to explain why some people don't heal, can we say that there is a choice from the person? In other words, some people become aware of their locking conflicts and the secondary benefits of the disease, but something in them doesn't want their beliefs or benefits to change.
Alors, c'est ce que j'appelle le caprice légitime. Donc,
That's what I call the legitimate whim. Some people has an advantage to remain sick. What I tell the person is, okay, I'm doing well, I don't have eczema, diabetes, cancer, or joint pain. Now we are in the coherence of the symptom, in the logic of the symptom, to refer to the title of the book of Laurent Dailly.
Du titre d'un livre qui parle de décodage biologique, la logique du symptôme de Laurent Dailly.
Okay, it's logical, we have a benefit from it, you suffer. This is brought to light, we can stop the session here if you want.
Cela est mis en lumière, mis en évidence, nous pouvons arrêter là la consultation.
I don't put any intention, any energy or effort to fight against the person. I'm here to enable the person to reach his objectives.
Je veux dire, je suis là pour lui permettre lui d'atteindre ses objectifs.
Now, maybe there's another objective behind the objective. Then I can continue the work if the patient wants. In other words, what is the advantage of keeping the disease? Already here, I can create a movement, a transformation, in which case I remain at the service of the person, of the drive. If there's no drive to go any further, then we have brought to light the coherence, there's a problem connected to that reason, and you keep the problem for this other reason. What do we do now? In most patients that I've met so far, they change. At that moment, they are in their legitimate whim. It may take some time before they make the decision to change, but most of the time it happens during the session. I'll take the example of a depressed woman who comes to consult, and it doesn't work, nothing happens. So at some point I look for the locking conflict, the why. Why other people have healed their depression and she hasn't?
Pourquoi d'autres personnes ont guéri leur dépression et elle non?
One of the protocols purposefully called the multiple unlocking allows us to discover those things and save time. So this protocol, the multiple unlocking, revealed that for her, if she's depressed, it's because of her mother. During her childhood, her mother was bad, abusive, controlling. She made mistakes, and the mother recognizes it today. The mother has changed in the meantime. And the teenage girl, she was actually a very young woman when she came to consult, tells me, "But Mr. Flèche, if I get better, that would mean that I have not suffered that much and that my mother was not that bad. If I feel good, no one will recognize how much she tortured me psychologically. It would prove her innocent, and that is out of the question." She was paying the high price for that. She had no sexuality, no boyfriend, no projects, no joy, nothing. But at least the world knew that her mother was bad, and the proof was her unhappiness and depression. So it was coherent, and I told her, "All right, we can stop here. You don't have to come to see me anymore." She was about 17 years old, and I said to her, "You may live for another 60 years with this information in the universe that your mother was bad, and you can really keep suffering in order to inform people around you, and that's the price you're willing to pay." She replied, "Yes, it's out of the question that I should feel better." So I said, "All right, this is coherent. Goodbye then." And she left. So with what you just said, with your approach, it's really a decision from the patient. Yes, the therapist has no intentions. The patient is not our family, our children. With our children, we want them happy. We do everything for them. Same with our friends, close family, and people we love. In this professional framework, we are at the service of the other, of his deepest needs, not of his desires and whims, but his needs, as long as the person can access this driving force. Sometimes it takes time. Of course, at some point this patient succeeded in being happy. Or should I say, she started working on being happy, on being herself, and living her life. It took some months because she was in a legitimate whim. Indeed, her mother was bad, and of course it's legitimate to have a loving, respecting mother who listens, who follows the child's rhythm, who puts forward her child's desires before hers. Her own desires as a mother has no importance, no value for the child. It's, you, my child, what makes sense to you. If it was not that way, we would still be living in caves in a prehistoric age. It's fortunate that it's the child's values and desires that are above those of the parents. Otherwise, the world would not have evolved. We would not have the internet, cars, etc. It's because we exceed our parents, because we are not controlled by them, because we have new and disturbing ideas. So we can bless the teenage crises which make a breach in the space-time continuum.